Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So update us on your life. What is going on?
Oh my goodness, where do we start? First of all, can you hear me properly? Can you
Yeah.
see me, everything?
Yes, you look great.
Perfect.
We hear you
Thank
perfectly.
you. You two both look great as well, and I'm also so happy to see so many people on this call.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm just I'm back in Montreal. I'm back in my little hub. Settling back in after a whirlwind of a year and 6 months, of course. But I'm really good. I am refreshed. I have new eyes, open eyes to Montreal, to skating, to outside life. And yeah, big updates.
I was going to say, you've been quite busy since the last time that you were here. Take us through. So the last time that you came on a skating lesson, it was before the Olympics. Take us through that experience. I'm up to date now.
Gosh, yeah. So yeah, the last time we spoke, I was actually sat exactly here on a different sofa in the exact same spot though, before the Olympics, and we just qualified. The Olympics was a dream come true, of course. Went into it with just the overall honor to actually be going to the Olympics finally. Of course, the Olympic experience was different to what it was before COVID, et cetera, but the whole experience in itself was unique, special, memories were made. It was unbelievable. We made history for Spain, got an Olympic diploma, got to skate in the Olympic gala. So there was just a lot of added things on that just made the whole experience so memorable. And I just felt I was, not gonna lie, I felt like I was on top of the world for that period of time. Update from that, came back to Montreal, getting ready for Worlds. I got COVID. Adrian then got COVID 5 days after I got COVID. Then it was like a kind of a domino effect between me, Adrian, and Maddie and Zach actually at the time. And we were training for Worlds. And we were like, okay, this is our last competition of the season. We've lasted all season without getting COVID. Why is it now? But the stress after the Olympics, etc., makes sense. So luckily we got over that, went to Worlds, top 10 at Worlds. Amazing season to close it off. It was a dream season for myself and Adrian. So from the last time we spoke, there was a lot of goals achieved, a lot of memories made, and checked a lot of boxes.
Yeah. So I have a bunch of questions about that. So you had told us last year that you thought that maybe Adrian would do 1 season, 1 to 2 seasons. It was kind of open-ended. And I listened to the podcast that you were on, and I think people were confused about how you didn't know or you did know. So can you go into kind of what those discussions are like? Obviously, this is all in the backdrop of the Olympics, the biggest moment of your life. You also probably skated maybe the best free dance of your life there. I don't know how you would rank it, but certainly one of your best performances. So, can you kind of talk about the communication that was going on at the time?
Well, so the podcast that I did with This Week in Skating the other week was the first time I'd spoke openly about my experience with Adrian's retirement and the lead up to that. And I do remember when we spoke last, I did say I wouldn't get another partner after Adrian. I see we've spoke about going 1 more season or 2 more seasons post-Olympics. So then beginning of the Olympic season in the summer, before we started really traveling to competitions, when Maddie and Zach started talking openly about this being their last season, of course, Adrian ties into Maddie. So then there's a lot of conversation there. So then I felt the need for myself to ask, this is their last season. I know you and Maddie are together. Is this going to be our last season? Is this your last season skating with me? I just think I'd respectively like to know as well. So I can skate knowing that it's my last time as well. And that was in the summer, and he did respond with he's not ready to make that decision. He would like to concentrate on the season, our goals, and make the decision after the season is done. And I respected that and was like, absolutely fine. I understand. I can't ask for more. So I left it at that. But throughout the season, most interviews were asking questions of, is this our last season? It was questions about qualifying for the Olympics and if this is our last season, because everybody in the skating world knows Adrian and Maddie are tied together and her story links to his. So that was difficult, but I just sat with it because I knew we both made the decision to wait to make the decision after the season. But then after our big triumph at the Olympics, that's where the thought came back to mind, because we had literally just peaked, and the thought of, oh, what happens if we do retire? What happens if Adrian does want to retire? I thought that was a bit of a silly decision because of what we just accomplished and what I could see us accomplishing in the future. So for my own self-respect, I then again brought up the topic with Adrian and with our life coach. And I asked the question again, is Worlds going to be our last competition? I just had COVID as well. Like, it was just a rough period coming down from the Olympics. And I wanted to know going into Worlds if Worlds was going to be my last time on the ice with Adrian. Same answer. He did say he wanted to wait until the end of the season to make a decision. He wants to keep our focus on competing and our goals and not think about that. But I did openly say, I would really, really like to know for myself, for the emotional side of me, because I will go on the ice no matter what and give it my all. But there's a different energy when you go on the ice, give it your all, and go on the ice and give it your all, knowing it's your last time. And personally, I know I could have handled both emotions, but I don't think he thought I could. He did think it would throw me off. It would maybe be a bit too much pressure. And I do understand and respect that. But when he did tell me he was retiring after Worlds, it just hurt that I didn't get to stand on the ice and fully know that was my last time on the ice with him. Even though he knew that. So feeling a little bit left out of the conversation was really tough. But at the same time, I do understand why he did what he did. But the timing maybe just wasn't perfect of how he handled it afterwards. But the decision was done and it was all made. But I can say that Worlds wasn't my favorite competition due to the fact I was on edge of this conversation and this topic. And at Worlds, every interview, is this going to be your last competition? Are we going to see you next season? And I just have to stand there and be like,
you were also the buzzed about team, and it's very rare that some team moves up because of ability and ice dance, but you really had gotten together and gelled. And I think that you were climbing, and that was also something that a lot of people were very excited by.
Yeah, it's like your breakthrough.
It was your breakthrough. I mean, we watched you guys do twizzles with the catch foot out of sync for years. I mean, the Tina Turner, like, we had really gotten it together. But one other thing I wanted to ask you, because I think that it didn't, and there's another nuance to this, which obviously this could have put me in a blind rage when I saw this, because I would have felt like the last to know and lied to. But at what point was it known? Because I could imagine a situation where you think maybe, Adrian, you will skate another season, Maddie and Zach will do shows, they'll be off in Japan, they'll be whatnot. But the other nuance to this is that Adrian was then announced to coach with Scott Moyer. And obviously your coaches, being the head coaches of the whole IM system, would then have influence on who gets to coach with Scott. So at what point was he recruited? Did they know this was going to be your last competition? How was it? Like, when did that discussion all happen? Because that would have thrown me over the edge. Personally, like, if I felt like I didn't know, then I would have gotten really hurt and just, Yeah,
100%. The coaches we never actually had the conversation with the coaches about Adrian's retirement. It was only with Stephanie, our life coach, who we trust and have worked with for years. And we kept that conversation quite personal and between us, and we didn't take it to the coaches. Coaches are there for coaching on the ice, coaching competitions. That's it. And we don't get too personal on those levels. But clearly, because he did have a job position within I Am, that meant the conversation had happened prior to Worlds. Yeah. So he actually told me he was retiring hours after the free dance at Worlds, and told me he was joining the coaching team with Scott at I Am. And
you heard both things same moment. Same
time.
At the competition.
Right.
So when he's saying he needs to wait until the end of the season, it's literally like
it was
hours.
Right after. Still in my free dance hair and makeup.
And was it in the hotel? Like, I just like details. Like,
no, we had a personal moment. We had a moment together. It was fine. But he handled it and did it the way he wanted to. I definitely wouldn't have done it in this way. Because that night, after the competition, it didn't give me the chance to, like, relish in this celebratory feeling of the season. It turned into a sorrow retirement party for Olivia and Adrian. So that sucked. But everybody handles things differently, and I can't judge the way he handled it in any way, because I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. But in the moment, I cannot lie, it absolutely sucked. I felt like my world had been swept from under my feet. I was on top of the world, and then I was like, where am I? Who am I? What am I doing?
Have you everything like started, but like since you talked, my brain is going a million. Like, has he spoken since your last interview? Have you talked this out? Because you're also enmeshed with each other within that system, right? And I get like, I think it's very complicated, and all of your relationships are complicated in general, where you're all competitors, and ice dance is very political, and yet you're coaches, and like who has what judge, and yet you all stay together. No one leaves the school. What is that status?
The relationship within the school and everybody is still so healthy and so professional, and I can't
like between you and Adrian, like how is it now?
Between me and Adrian, it's good. It's respectful, professional. There has been a gap in our friendship since that time.
You go to the wedding?
Yes, I am going to the wedding. We both just went on completely different career paths post-season, which of course I wasn't expecting, but him moving to London super fast, me figuring out what I was doing, there was a massive shift in our connection. We went from, spending every day together to barely speaking. But I know he's been super busy and focused on building something in London, Ontario. And I've gotten used to the fact of knowing, he is part of I Am, and that is a thing. And I'm so proud of him for that. Of course, at first, when he did tell me he was coaching for I Am, I was like, oh goodness, that's a lot. Because I did know this conversation had started prior to Worlds. But I do want to add on to that. I never looked at my coaches badly for that, because they're business people. They're doing business. Yes, we're their kids, we're their students, but it's also business for them. And 100% Adrian made that decision. They didn't push him to make this decision. They gave him a door. They gave him an open door, and he took it, which completely understood. He wants to be a coach. He wants to make money. He wants to start building his life. He's getting married. He wants to have kids eventually. He has a family base there. So I understand where he's going and where he has gone. But yeah, last season competing would have been great for us. And I did lay out, not just me, the coaches also, when we both came back from vacation after Worlds, we sat with the coaches, we sat with Marie and Patch, and we laid out all the opportunities on the table. So Grand Prix medals, European medal, potential shows, bish bash bosh, all that. And this wasn't just me, this was Marie and Pat also. So they also saw more to come from that. And they also did add on an option of Adrian coaching and training, so he could, you know, slowly transition into what he's doing now. But he was donezo. He was satisfied with his competitive side of skating. He was clear with what he wanted to do. So there was no shaking this man, and I can't change a grown man's decision. So I had to accept it. But I accepted it because I respect him as a person, a partner, and what he wanted to do forward. As much as I was like, making a terrible decision, I had to accept it. There's nothing I could do. So yeah, then in that moment, he was like, look, I want to see you continue skating. I want to see you find another partner. And I remember being like, all right, okay. Like, I remember saying that to him. But yeah, the way it was handled was shitty, but with where I am now and what I've done and what we're going to talk about, like, massive believer in everything happens for a reason. And what had happened, that like shit storm that happened, has only helped me grow and look at how I handle situations and respect situations and people moving forward.
I just have one last question. Did he ever explain to you when he knew? I would imagine you asked him and you said after Worlds, when did you know that this was going to be your last competition? Has he ever said when he did make his mind?
That's one thing I never did, actually, now that you ask. I never asked details. Okay. I never asked, like, when did you have a meeting with the coaches? When was this decided? When did you start your visa application? I never asked any of this. I think because when he told me, I was in such shock that even that night, I didn't even ask questions. Even when he told me, I just cried. And then I went to the bar. Like, that was straight up. That was it.
I don't want to think about this anymore.
Yeah, no. And then the day after was the World's Gala. So we were just relishing in the last day on the ice together, and I was aggressively hungover. So there was no time and space for me to ask these questions. And then I went home for a week and then went on vacation for 3 weeks. He went elsewhere. And I can honestly say we haven't had a moment where we've sat down and just had the two of us together since then. So I haven't had the chance to ask these questions. And at this point, we'll see. There's not really that much.
And it doesn't matter at this point.
Yeah. No, but the closure really wasn't there, other than just the decision of the separation of retirement. So, yeah.
Well,
I know. Just you mentioned the 3 weeks that you went on vacation, and then you thought about joining the circus.
Oh goodness gracious!
Yeah, what was going on there?
I have to add in, the way I'm explaining everything now, I feel so like light and airy about it. And I can see people being like, God, Olivia, you're too nice. I can tell you, I was livid.
How livid? Like texting Sada Hurtado livid? Or like,
oh, I didn't go that far. I didn't want to bring in extra drama. The drama was within myself. When I tell you I went on a 3-week vacation, I went on a 3-week vacation on my own, thinking I was gonna, go like meditate, do all these things to help calm this down. Like I tried. And then that led to me nearly joining the circus.
You went on that vacation with like Hawaii and KMT. Like, was this in that period, or when were?
Oh, the solo vacation was a week after Worlds. Vacation with Hawaii and people was later in the summer that we had previously booked. But earlier in the summer.
Had a lot of like pissed off energy last season, so it could have been like a really good.
Oh, Kirsten and Caitlin, like with the girls, like that's our place to then just talk about things, but also like give each other like fuel each other with like good knowledge and like advice moving forwards as well. So that's a good group of people as well. So I did get to spend some time with them a lot last summer. And for her, it was a massive transitional period as well. for actually a lot of people close to me. You look at last year, we were all like, oh my God, what happened?
What was it like being away? So the only thing I can mention is I had a lot of friends that were a year younger than me in school. And when I went away to college, stuff is going on when you're not there and you're away. Obviously, you can watch all of these competitions, but knowing what was going on, that Caitlin was having struggles and that she wasn't skating, and you're watching other teams that you trained with rise in the ranks. What was that experience like this year, to be away from it, but still connected to someone? So
I thought I would have a way harder time not competing last season, and I would have had like major FOMO and being like angry that I wasn't, medaling when we could have, etc. I told myself I was going to have a hard time. The fact that I stayed busy, I think, is the reason why I was okay. If I didn't get my dancing on ice contract, would have been completely different. But the fact that I was busy, I was doing something else that was fueling me and my soul, it made me feel good. And also, like, I was doing something that I loved and I was getting paid for it, and I was home with family. I'm like, this is kind of better than competing at this point. Like, I found myself in a good place. I wasn't comparing myself to what was happening in the competitive season, but it did fuel me. I did see results and competitions, and I was like, there's a fire in my belly still that wants to be there and do that. So yeah, last season, I think for a lot of people, well, post-Olympic season, I feel like there's always drama post-Olympic season. And I feel like 2018 Pyeongchang Olympics, post-Olympics, not much changed. A lot of ice dance couples stayed around that season. There wasn't that many changes, but then last year, I feel like it all just flipped. Like somebody flipped the table last season.
But you had the COVID. I mean, it was an interesting 4 years. Everyone had their feelings, and difficulties. But I was interested because a lot of people see you as one of the strongest female ice dancers, right? There's always, I think, that divide of which female ice dancers can really skate, who's getting dragged. And people really look at you as one of the really strong female ice dancers, kind of leading the sport. And I was surprised that you said that you would have been okay with your career ending in Japan, like at Worlds, if you guys did one more. And so many people think that you're young, you're talented, the world is your oyster. Do you have renewed goals in terms of skating or what you want to achieve? Have you thought about that yet? Like, what is your competitive fire like right now?
Yeah, well, to answer your question, yeah, I did see myself doing one more year after the Olympics and being like, yeah, I'm satisfied. Because back then my goal was to go to the Olympics, and well, I still have never been to Japan, so Japan Worlds just seemed like a good close off. And that was with Adrian, and just the bond and the partnership that we had built. I felt okay ending my season with those two goals attached with him, and like putting a bow on our partnership and being like, I'm done. I'm 26. I was with a partner at the time. I really want to be a mom. Like, I looked at after skating at a younger age. And I can't lie, if Adrian would have done last season and retired after Japan Worlds, I may have been in that position of like, yeah, I'm ready to retire, and I could be getting engaged this year and looking to have kids soon, because that's what I wanted. That's what I was telling
Do you have a
people
Mr.
in my
Man?
life. I did. I had a Mr. Man up until last summer, but because my life flipped upside down, I stepped away from that to figure me out and what I was doing respectably, and it's still positive and good, but I stepped away from that because I wanted to focus on me. So no, I don't now. Which was
Where is
difficult.
he? Are you in touch? Are you like?
Yeah, we're still friends. We're still very respectable friends. He's from Montreal. Like, he understood my situation. He watched me qualify for the Olympics, and then he saw me afterwards, so he understood everything, which was so good, because you won't get that in a lot of people. A lot of people are like, screw you, but that was really nice. So yeah, I would have been fine with that. But before we spoke at the Olympics, at the Olympics, no word of a lie, at the Olympics, it was the first and only moment I ever felt, and I could say to myself, wow, you're actually pretty good at this. I swear to God, like, I have never had that feeling where I can say that to myself. I have always felt like, not the underdog, but I've always felt like I was trying to be up there. I was like, hey, I know I can, but I just got to get there. And then at the Olympics, with the recognition of the program last season, the placement at the Olympics, the scores, I was like, oh my God, I'm actually pretty good at this. That was the first moment I've ever had that in my whole skating career. So when I went back to training after the Olympics, that was the first time I went into the rink every day on the ice for training with a completely different energy and confidence. Like, I didn't feel like I was, like holding back and like trying to be like everybody else. I just felt like I fully came into my skin. And it was a whole different energy for me. And then competed at Worlds, and then that was over. So for me, that energy and confidence that I felt was cut short. And I was like, oh my God, I still have so much more to give, but it got taken away from me. So going into skating again was a whole different energy for me. And then doing dancing on ice, that's where I feel like I was able to explore that confidence a little bit more and be like, okay, I like this, I feel this. And I'm not gonna lie, it boosted my confidence even more. So going back into skating and competing now, I have so much fire in my belly, it's shocking. And I'm not just skating because I have to now, and because it's the only thing I have. I'm skating because I really want to. And I know I have a lot more to give in this sport. My new favorite saying is, I still have a scratch to itch. So I'll keep saying that. And I really appreciate you saying like a strong female skater in the sport. And I do want to keep pushing that. Like, I want to keep showing that and pushing that for myself in my career. And yeah, there's goals there that we haven't talked about and placed yet, but medals at Grand Prix, medals at Europeans, these are things that I haven't reached yet personally. I've had a teaser of them, but really stepping into my own skin with a new partner, there's new confidence. I am excited to see what can come. And you know what's funny is you can't look at the rankings now and be like, okay, I'm going to place myself there. You have no clue. And usually in the past, that would have kind of like, not frustrated me, but like fueled my fire in the wrong way. But I'm excited to kind of see where we could be. But just going out there and competing and skating, feeling good, knowing that we can be good, and just seeing what happens, because everything else is out of our control. And I've learned that from the past of Adrian, and just taking all the lessons from the past 8 years and the past year to what's coming. I think it can be very powerful. Tim actually contacted me for a tryout in the summertime last year, and I originally said yes. I was like, sure, why not? I think I'm going to do this. And then I think it was like a month later, I went back to him and told him, no, I'm not going to do the tryout. So I said yes, went back on my decision. I went back on my decision because I was still in a period of just feeling absolutely lost with what I was doing. I wasn't sure if I was joining the circus or if I was working here, if I even wanted to continue skating and look for a new partner. So I didn't want to say yes to him and him fly all the way to Montreal for a tryout when I wasn't even sure if I wanted to do this. I just didn't have it in me selfishly to do that. So I did decline. And then I was coaching a little bit just for fun, just to see if I enjoyed it. And then I was actually working with a younger girl that was at I Am at the time, and I helped her set up a tryout with Tim. With along the coaches as well, like everybody had a contribution, and I said to her, like, I think it'd be a good fit. So she came to Montreal, and he came to Montreal, had a tryout with her, and while he was there, I had dinner with Marie and Stephanie, and they sat me down and said, we think you should have a tryout with Tim. And I was like, oh, okay. This is not what we decided in the summer, but sure. They were like, yeah, we think you should have a tryout with Tim. We've seen him skate this week and we think he is better than we've seen him skate before. And there could be potential there. Plus, we don't want you to have any regrets. They're like, he's here. Why not? I'd already signed my contract for dancing on ice 3 days prior to this. So I was like, okay, but I just did that. And they were like, let's just do the tryout and then we'll go from there. Had the tryout. It was great. I was shocked, like utterly shocked, because I've never skated with anybody since Adrian, since I've really grown as an ice dancer. But I guess my ability to track and follow and just adapt is there. And the same with him. We have very different skating skills, but we both kind of fed off each other. And we just had fun. And it was just light, nice. It had a new, refreshing look to for us both. And the one person that was so on board with it was Marie. And when Marie is onto something, she's onto something. And she really saw something in us as a team. And I put a lot of trust into her words before making the decision. And both her, Patch, and Roman had positive responses. And I know they wouldn't say it just to say it. They really meant it. And I kind of just said to myself, I was like, you know what? I have an opportunity here with a new partner, with a new fresh look. I do want to continue skating. I have that scratch to itch. And I was like, I don't want to have any regrets. I'm 26. Why not? And I'm so glad I made that decision. But I'm grateful that Tim was patient enough to let me go do dancing on ice, wait a good 6 months, and then for me to come back ready to train. Because that contract was already signed, that was done. And I wanted to do it as well. So I wanted to commit to that and then go back to training. So yeah, the whole transition has been interesting. But yeah, moving forward with Tim, we haven't, officially announced anything, but everyone knows. Everyone's just waiting for that picture that we post one day saying, hey, we're a new team.
This is, our first event, or this is, yeah. Have you picked music? You don't have to say it, but have you guys decided?
We have picked we've picked free dance music and still figuring out rhythm dance. Yeah, we started choreography a little bit this week with Marie France, and that's super fun. It's super fun with a new fresh team. And it's a new fresh team that already have like a skill set and quite a wide skill set. And putting them together is super interesting because you see how different he skates, how different I skate, but then also bouncing back off each other in those ways. It's opened a lot of doors for the both of us.
How is his transition to like the Patch skating skills going? Like, will Patch refine him now, later? What's going to happen? So
Patch started the refining. He started that process. Day one, Patch was like feeding off of us. He's like, we had him for like a full session and we're like, yeah, Patch has been waiting for this. And this is Patch's favorite time of the season. You get to break things down. You get to take time on the basic things. And surprisingly, Tim has handled it so well and he loves it. I asked him like at the end of the session, I was like, what do you think about it? He's like, I love it. He said to me, he's like, so do you think at the end of my career, I'll also get a master's in arts or like psychology? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, from Patch. He's like, the way he speaks is so deep. He's like, I feel like I'm learning things out of skating. I should be qualifying for something else. I'm like, yep. And Tim also told me he's read a lot of coaching books in Germany because his family are from the skating world. He said there's a lot of words in those skating books that he's never understood why they use them. And he's like, who uses these words? First session we had with Patch, we finished and Tim was like, this makes so much sense. Patch used all the words that are in these coaching books that I've never heard anybody use before. Like even like aerodynamics, biomechanics, all these things. And that's the terminology Patch uses. And that's what's written in the books. So Tim was like, makes sense.
Validating.
Yeah. But no, he's transitioning really well, and we've known each other for years. We did juniors together, Tim and I. So we've always been friendly. And I think we're both just two skaters that really want to continue skating because we have it in us, and we want to have fun. We want to push our limits. We want to, I don't know, see what else we can bring to the table. There's no goals set yet. I think for us, it'll be throughout time, we'll see what goals can be made. But right now, we're skating with such freedom, openness, and we're very curious as to what we can make as a new senior team. Because we're also really the only, well, not only, but only senior team at the top ranks that have teamed up and gone together. I think the last time that happened was with Victoria, Nikita, Alena, and Ruslan, if I'm not mistaken. So it's also something new and exciting for the skating world and the ice dance world.
What is his personality like? He seems like a character.
He is a character. He is. He's my favorite thing. He's an absolute daredevil, as you can see. He just wants to try things, but then at the same time, I'm also like that. Maybe more than him. So I've shocked him in those ways as well. That video is actually in Niall's gym when he was doing the tricks and stuff. He came to the UK for a little bit, just to see the show and just be a part of that a little bit. Also, he was waiting 6 months for me to be done. So I was like, come, let's be together a bit, whatnot. But yeah, his personality is awesome. He wants to learn. He wants to push himself. He's also super social, got a fun, laid back personality, but also he's German. He's very on point with things as well, which I admire about him because I'm the polar opposite. So even with skating stuff and personality, we're bouncing back with each other quite a bit.
Who's the leader, like in terms of being on top, like the driving force between the two of you? Is there?
The driving force, I'd say, if I had to give somebody that role, I'd say me at the moment. But I don't want that. I want us both to come into our own skin equally, because maybe he does look at it as, I'm higher ranked, etc. But I'm coming into this partnership as a whole new skater. But I'm only saying me because I'm used to the school, I'm used to the way the skating is here and everything. And I see so much potential in him as a skater, that as a partner as well, that I want to help him in those ways from what I've learned over the years, but without it being without me coaching him. But vice versa, he does things and skills that he's learned from his coaching background that I don't do and I've never done, that I want to learn as well. So we're trying to both play the head role and bounce off each other in those ways. Because maybe people do look at it as if me skating with Tim because of the rankings is different, but when I tell you I'm a whole different skater with him, it's I have not once compared what I have with Tim and the skating I have with Tim to what I had with Adrian, which is super cool and something I didn't expect.
What have you noticed? What have you noticed about your skating that's different with Tim? Like, what does he bring out in you?
I'd say the freedom in it, but I'd say the skating with Tim itself has brought another side of me out as a skater. But that energy that I said from the Olympics and then after, and then dancing on ice, that energy that I had there, I brought that into my partnership with Tim that I didn't have with Adrian. So that in itself, but then also the curiosity to learn new things with him and adapt, has brought opened a whole new door with Tim and I as a team. Like, even just the way I track and follow as a skater, even like I would never pay attention to details, like being super close on things. I would kind of do it more technically. And now I'm like, oh no, like, let's milk this. Let's get really close. Let's have a different vibe. And I do feel a different connection with him because we're both similar ages. And we're both, well, yeah, we're both younger. We're both European funny vibes. Like there's something new to it that I want to bring, more of a fun, young, sexy energy.
Yeah, it sounds like you feel really confident.
Yeah, but at the same time, I say young, but looking at the field now, there's the young kids in the skating in the senior field, and then there's the older kids in the skating field, and we are in the older pack. But we want to bring we want to really bring like a mature, sexy partnership forward with this, because you know there's a lot of teams up there that are couples, that are not couples, whatnot, but they all have their thing. So it's really important in ice dance, you know, you're bringing forward your thing. And for us, I think it's just like the confident, sexy, fresh, new vibes as a team.
Energized.
Yeah.
Now, are you listening to a lot of 80s music? Because you did Tina Turner for so long, and now you have 80s, and she was, you know, the queen of the mid to late 80s. So, you know, what are you thinking about? Is Tina off the table, right?
Tina is off the table. Tina is off the table. I love Tina, but I've heard enough of Tina. That song will never get old to me, but ready for something else. I'm really curious for the 80s because there's so much variety, but because there's so much variety, it feels like there's not that much at the same time.
You've already heard people doing Michael Jackson, okay?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So
how many people are going to do ABBA?
Mm.
How many people are going to do Michael Jackson? But at the same time, you can get really creative with the 80s, but you also are looking to please everybody. You're looking to please yourself, the judges, the crowd. So you can't go so far out. Yeah, like Madonna, like a virgin. I get it. I would do it. Madonna, but Lila and Lewis, they've owned Madonna. So it's kind of like you want to find your own flair. I really enjoyed my experience doing rock. Robbie Williams, Let Me Entertain You on Dancing on Ice. And the feeling I got doing like a sexy, more of an older, sexy look, something that you wouldn't wear in a competition, and you would not be allowed to wear at a competition, but you can wear on a reality TV show. I loved doing rock, and I was like, 80s rock, this could be good. So I've been listening to a lot of rock music in that way, but also trying to play off of our strengths separately. So what Tim's good at, what I'm good at, what's worked in the past, but also not latch onto those ideas too much. So there's a lot of variety of music to listen to for the 80s, a lot. And one thing that I find hilarious, and I can say Marie has found funny as well, is if you haven't noticed, all 80s music and songs fade out at the end. None of them have a bang ending. They all just fade out at the end. So just get ready for next season. Everybody's gonna have Hugo or Carl Hugo producing an ending for them, because no 80s music have a strong ending for ice dance.
Boom. Yeah.
None of them have that.
You drive Hugo nuts. I always send Hugo like 3 or 4, like really. I had version 8 and 9 of my music this year. So yeah. We freedance Olympic season was version 18. But imagine we had so many sound effects and whatnot. But I know there's teams at our rink that have gone way more than that. So yeah, we definitely bug Hugo. But he's the I am legend. Like he does a lot for us, and we appreciate it so much, because none of us could do it, or we could, but it takes us 10 times more time. How is Caitlin doing? You know, you guys are so close. She had a really tough season. It looks like been back on the ice. Yeah, how has that been?
She's good. She's doing really well. Of course, I've been away a bit, so I haven't had the chance to spend as much time with her and speak with her as much as I would have as a supportive friend. And because we were both going through our own struggles, that was difficult for the both of us to stay connected. But now that I've been back, we've connected, and she's doing really well. I'm really proud of her and Jean-Luc, because she's taken a step away from what she loves to do on the daily to take care of herself, and that is a really hard thing to do. Especially when, for the both of us, skating is our life, and the longest time it felt like the only thing we knew and we were good at. And stepping away from it and trying other things, meeting other people, doing all those things has opened both our eyes to like, okay, I don't need to skate. I want to skate. And we want to take care of ourselves out of the skating world and prioritize that person before putting them back in the skating world. I think that's so important. And I did that last year, and she did that immensely, and she's still doing that. But she's doing really well. It's slow baby steps back onto the ice for them both, and handling their career with care, but they're doing it in the best way possible. They're supporting each other. She has peers out of the skating rink. She has interests out of the skating rink, and she's an overall talented human being. And I think now she's seeing that in multiple ways other than just on the ice. And we all support her through it and everything as much as she needs. And yeah, I think this transition and that period for her was extremely hard, extremely hard, but it's made her grow into an even stronger person now, and vice versa. Like, I can say everything happens for a reason, and as much as you look back and you're like, God, that was shit, like where you are when you're in a good space later on, you're like, that had to happen. So overall, she's doing good, and it's nice to see her back on the ice.
Does the camp feel different, like without Maddie and Zach training, without Gabby and Guillaume? What is that like, the dynamic?
I thought it would feel more different coming back. I'm not gonna lie, I felt the only reason why it felt different for me is because I felt like the black sheep. I was like, ooh, like this used to be like my comfort, my home, and now I'm like, I feel like the newbie in this space. And I was like a little on edge my first couple of weeks back. Now I'm good, but at first I was like, I'm on the ice with a new partner. I've been out for 6 months. Like, I've missed out on the drama, the gossip. There's things being talked about that I don't know about. But the dynamic is very much the same, I'd say, because we have already a lot of teams. There's no quiet moments in this school. And yeah, I think because I was away last year, it was different. I think the people that could say it feels really different are like Nick and Laurence and Maddie and Evan, because they competed last year, right after the year when Maddie and Zach and Gavin, Jim and Adrian and I were all there. So I know that they said last season was weird to train without those three teams. But I think because I've been away for so long now, I'm kind of used to it, and everybody's parted their own ways, and everybody's had time to process that people are out of it.
How many weddings are you going to this summer?
Oh, only one for now. Only Maddie and Adrian's for now. I don't really know anybody else that is getting married yet. I'm waiting for Maddie and Evan's wedding within the next couple of years, I guess. But nobody else. Hey, I thought I was going to be getting married this year, but here we are.
Well, when is your Insta post going to come out? Everyone wants to know the country.
Yes,
that's being discussed, you know, which, if you're feeling German or Spanish for next year.
I guess it depends on the week at this point. The Instagram post, well, I'm hoping that can come out soon. We're just waiting on finalizing logistics with countries, etc., keeping that respectful on both sides, which has been quite a hard decision, actually. But waiting to finalize those, and then we'll let out a nice little post telling everybody which flag will be flying, and yeah, we'll get the ball rolling. It's hard because the ball is rolling now for us, but because we haven't said things out loud really yet, it's a little bit of like there, especially from Tim's side. He's like, I want to tell people, I want to do the post. I'm like, I'm just going with the flow at this point. Like, this year's been crazy. Let's just keep riding the wave.
Well, thank you so much for coming
Yes.
on. We're going to root for you this season, and hopefully we'll see you in the Grand Prix and see your Insta post soon. We're waiting for something else.
Yes,
I'll tag the
rooting for
skating
you.
lesson so you can see it right away.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Olivia.
Thank you, Olivia.
Thank you for having me, guys. I really enjoyed this.
Sure.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.